You were born by the river. The Nile ran through your childhood like a god, flooding, receding, giving life and taking it away. Your mother sang while grinding grain. Your brothers wrestled in the dust, and you, barefoot, curious, carried water jars and listened to stories whispered by the old women. They spoke of the palace with eyes like polished stone, not with joy, not with envy, with silence. You were 13 when the officials came. They wore linen robes with gold collars, and their voices were smooth as oil. Your village priest bowed low when they passed. Your father did too. No one looked them in the eye, not even your mother, who clutched your arm so tightly it left bruises. They didn't ask. They announced. Your beauty had been noted. Your eyes, your skin, your silence. A gift to the house of the king. An honour, they said. A blessing for your family. 1 pig, 2 goats, and a basket of barley were left at your father's feet. He didn't move, not until they pulled you away. Before we step deeper into the terrifying truths behind this so-called honour, if you believe it's time these forgotten voices are heard, consider subscribing to this channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I find it powerful that across continents and centuries, we're sharing in the pain and strength of those history tried to erase. The story you're about to hear is not entirely true, but it's not entirely false either. They dressed you in fresh linen and rubbed scented oil into your hair. You did not cry. That was weakness. You remembered your mother's final instruction. Do not shame us. You were loaded onto a barge. 6 other girls sat with you silent as cattle. The river moved slow and thick beneath the wooden boat. You tried to memorize your village's shoreline, the trees, the clay rooftops, the cracked door of your home, but it blurred with each push of the oar. You never saw it again. The palace appeared days later, rising from the earth like a dream carved in limestone. Giant statues flanked the entrance. Painted columns soared above your head. The walls whispered nothing, no warmth, no welcome. Inside, your name was taken, not stolen, erased. They gave you a number and a room. You were no longer the daughter of your mother. You were no longer a girl who swam in the Nile or ran through the wheat fields. You belonged to the house now, the harem. The word tasted soft, like perfume, but it meant prison. There were hundreds of women. Some were girls like you. Others were older, beautiful, bitter, bruised in places the eyes couldn't see. They watched you, judged you. The eunuchs barked orders. You were taught how to walk, how to kneel, how to serve food without looking directly into a man's eyes, how to make your body pleasing, how to be touched without flinching. At night you curled beneath woven sheets and listened to muffled cries through the stone walls, sometimes laughter, more often nothing, the silence of waiting, of women afraid to sleep too deeply. No one told you when your turn would come. Each morning you bathed in lotus water. Each evening you braided your hair and lined your eyes in kohl. Your body changed, your breasts swelled. The eunuchs began watching you more closely. They smiled less. You tried not to be noticed, but invisibility had its own dangers. One girl disappeared after speaking back, another after her first bleeding. One day they were there, the next, gone. The walls never gave answers, neither did the women. And then, one morning your bracelet was missing. The small copper one your mother had tied around your wrist as a child. You asked the servant who dressed you. She didn't meet your eyes, she just said, "You've been chosen." And in that moment you understood something terrible. You were not being honoured, you were not being elevated, you were being prepared. Your name was gone, your future was not your own. And your body, your last possession, had just been claimed. This was not a palace. This was a tomb with painted walls, and you had just been buried alive. They call it the Perkenna, the house of pleasure, the palace of women. But you learn quickly, there is no pleasure here, only hierarchy, only surveillance, only 1,000 women held in perfect silent tension. The harem is a world inside a world, a labyrinth behind walls higher than any temple, guarded by silence and eunuchs with eyes like razors. From the outside, it looks like a sanctuary, a haven of luxury and beauty, with perfumed gardens, singing fountains, and polished limestone walkways. But every step inside is measured, every glance is watched, and every woman is a threat. You sleep in a shared room now, stone floors softened by reed mats and thin linen blankets. There is no door. Privacy is a forgotten idea. Every hour is controlled by bells and orders. You rise when they say, bathe when they say, eat what you're given, and nothing more. Speak only when spoken to, and never, under any circumstances, question the hierarchy. At the top is the great royal wife. She is untouchable, veiled in linen and guarded by legacy. Beneath her are secondary wives, royalty by blood or contract. Then come the favoured concubines, and at the bottom, where you now exist, are the unranked ones, new girls, nameless, watching, waiting, forgettable. You quickly learn the rules are not written, but they are enforced. Smile too brightly at the wrong moment, and an older woman will slap your face when no one is looking. Speak above your rank, and a eunuch will twist your arm until you cry out. Refuse to kneel, and you may be denied food for a day or 3. Every punishment comes quietly, privately, behind drapes, or in narrow stone corridors where no one hears your voice but the walls. You must not stand out, but you must not fade too far either. To be invisible is to be forgotten, and in the harem, forgotten girls disappear. The women are always watching. That is the first lesson. You are never alone. Someone is always listening. The woman beside you, the eunuch outside the door, the servant pretending to dust the floor. The walls have holes, the gardens have ears. Even your shadow betrays you. And the older women, the ones who've lasted more than a few years, they wear their faces like masks. Perfect, painted, unreadable. They smile when you fall. They touch your arm when you cry. They teach you songs about the pharaoh's generosity while warning you never to look him in the eye. Because nothing in the harem is sincere. Every friendship is a strategy. Every gesture is weighted. The woman who braids your hair today may accuse you tomorrow. The girl who shares her sweet bread tonight may be bribing a eunuch with your name come morning. You're not allowed to forget why you're here. The harem is not a temple. It is not a school. It is a factory for the pharaoh's pleasure, his bloodline and his image. Your worth is in your youth, your skin, your silence. You must be clean, always scented. You must walk like a reed in the breeze. You must keep your eyes low, your breasts lifted, and your mouth closed unless asked to speak. And when the day comes that the pharaoh calls you, you must smile, not because you want to, but because you must. You are a body, not a person, a vessel, not a voice, and the palace reminds you. The gates are locked from the outside. There is no leaving. You are fed and clothed and adorned, but not free. You are surrounded by hundreds of other women, but you never feel safe. You're watched by guards who cannot touch you, but can report everything you do. You begin to forget your village, your mother's voice, the river. Instead, you remember numbers, which hour to rise, which robe to wear, which corner to kneel in if summoned. The house of women, they say, is a paradise, but you know better now. It is not a palace, it is a prison, and your body, your youth, your face, is the only key you'll ever be allowed to hold. It begins with a whisper, not from a eunuch, not from a priest, but from another girl. A glance over the water basin, a shift in tone when your name is spoken, a scent placed beside your sleeping mat that doesn't belong to you. The older women stop speaking when you enter the room, and that night, your dinner is served on a different tray. Cleaner, warmer, arranged more carefully than before. You know, before they say it. You've been chosen. There is no ceremony, no trumpets, no warning. Just a knock at the wall where there is no door, and a eunuch's flat voice ordering you to follow. You do not speak, you do not cry, you rise as you are trained, quietly, gracefully, with your eyes lowered. In the back chamber, 2 women await you, not concubines, not servants. They are older, silent, efficient, deliberate. They strip you of your robe, your necklace, your identity. They scrub you with rough linen cloth soaked in oils that sting your skin. They shave you from head to toe, not because it's beautiful, but because it is expected. Your scent must be pure, your body must be clean, your presence must not offend the god you are about to serve. They perfume you with crushed lotus and cardamom. They stain your fingers with henna. They paint your eyes in kohl. Your lips are tinted red, not too much, just enough to show blood still flows. They do not speak to you. They do not smile, because they have done this before. When they finish, they step back and observe you like a sculptor checking a statue for flaws. Then one says, "Remember not to speak. He won't ask your name." You nod. You have no name anymore. The hallway to his chamber is quiet, cold, lit by small oil lamps flickering in alcoves. At the door, the eunuch nods once and steps aside. You walk in alone. The room smells of incense and myrrh. The floor is smooth stone softened by lion skins and embroidered cushions. Gold gleams from the corners. Furniture, statues, dishes untouched. The ceiling vanishes into shadow. And at the far end, he reclines. The pharaoh. He doesn't rise. He doesn't speak. You've never seen him this close before, only glimpsed him from the edge of a procession or in paintings, broad shoulders, lined eyes, the cobra crown glinting in sunlight. But now, he is just a man, older than you expected. Skin loosens around the neck, hands veined and heavy with rings. His eyes scan your body like a scribe reviewing a document. You walk toward him, each step rehearsed 100 times. You kneel when you reach the edge of the bed. You bow your head. You wait. He beckons. You do not think. You obey. The rest happens in silence. There are no kisses, no questions. His hands are not gentle. They are methodical. You try not to cry out. You think of the Nile. You think of your mother's hands. You count your breaths. You stare at the painted ceiling and try to find patterns in the lotus petals. You bleed. You know that matters. It means you were untouched before him. It means you were worthy. When it ends, he turns away without a word. A servant appears from the shadows, handing you a cloth. You clean yourself in silence. Your legs shake. Your breath comes in short bursts, but you do not collapse. The servant leads you back, through the same hallway, into the same chamber, to the same stone floor where you now belong. But the other girls do not speak to you anymore. Some look away, others look through you. You're not one of them now. You are marked, and yet you're no more secure, because now you are visible, and in the palace of women, visibility is dangerous. That night, you lie awake under a blanket that no longer warms you. You bleed slowly onto the mat, and you understand something the girls were too afraid to say. You have not risen. You have not triumphed. You have been used. The god has taken what he wanted, and in doing so, reminded you, you are only flesh. It begins with nausea. You're scrubbing your arms in the harem baths when the room begins to spin. You brace yourself against the wall. You say nothing, because weakness invites attention, and attention here can kill. But by the third morning, there's no hiding it. You haven't bled this month. Your belly is beginning to swell. You're 17, maybe 18, and you're pregnant with the pharaoh's child. This could save your life, or end it. There are no celebrations, no songs, no blessings from the priests. The older women exchange glances. Some tighten their lips. Others smile too widely. The air thickens. Your meals grow heavier. Your guards are more alert. You're no longer a concubine. You're a vessel, and vessels break. A royal pregnancy in ancient Egypt is a sacred and strategic event. but only if it produces the right result. A boy, a strong one, a child with the king's nose, the king's spirit, the king's destiny. You're not praised, you're studying. The midwives monitor your urine, your pulse, and your dreams. If you weep too much, they tell you the baby will be nervous. If you sleep too little, they say the soul of the child will wander. You chew dried herbs that taste of metal. You're not allowed near cold water. You're forbidden to cry out during checkups, because this is not about you. This is about what you might produce. And should the baby be born with a deformity, or worse, die, you will be blamed. Not the king, not the gods, you. It has happened before. You hear it in murmurs. One girl miscarried after her 3rd month. She bled for 2 nights. On the 3rd, she disappeared. Another bore a stillborn girl. The eunuchs wrapped the body in linen and no one spoke her name again. When your time comes, it is not beautiful. You're brought to a birthing room deep in the palace, where the stone walls trap the heat and the smell of copper. You squat on bricks arranged beneath your body. 2 women brace your arms. One presses a cold rag to your face. The pain is not waves, it is a flood. Endless, crushing. You scream. They slap your face. Silence. You dishonor the house. The baby takes hours to arrive, maybe days. Time folds into pain. You see colours behind your eyelids. Your teeth chatter from exhaustion. You whisper the names of gods you don't believe in anymore. You hear your mother's voice from far away, then, finally, crying. A sound higher than air, piercing the sweat-thick night. You blink. Is it a boy? A priest enters. He examines the child. The women whisper. You try to sit up, but your legs are numb, your arms shake. He frowns. The child is small. His skin is pale. He does not open his eyes. No one speaks to you. They carry him out. You're left on the bricks, bleeding, dizzy, hollow. The warmth in your belly is replaced by an ache deeper than bone. No one tells you if he lived. They bring food, then take it away untouched. The next morning, you're carried back to your sleeping mat. You're no longer a concubine, no longer a vessel, just something used, broken, discarded. The other women do not meet your eyes. The midwife passes and whispers one phrase as she lays your bandages on the floor. Be grateful. You survived. Because many don't. In ancient Egypt, childbirth is the leading cause of death for women like you. The gods do not protect concubines, neither do men. The rate of infection is high, the care is crude, and if you bleed too long or swell the wrong way, they call it fate, not negligence. Your body has done its duty, and now it must recover alone. You lie awake that night, watching the ceiling, wondering where your child is, or whether he was ever allowed to live. And though your belly is flat again, your body still aches with phantom weight. You remember the warmth, you remember the pain, and you try not to remember the silence that followed, because in the palace of the God King, the motherhood is not a blessing, it is a gamble, and every birth begins with one simple truth. You may die giving life, or you may live just long enough to lose it. It begins with a bowl of pomegranate seeds, sweet, ripe, sprinkled with honey, left just outside your door before sunrise. You eat them slowly, grateful for something beautiful, something kind. By nightfall, your stomach tightens. The cramps twist you in half. You vomit until your throat burns. The midwives arrive, confused. The eunuchs pace outside. The senior concubine pretends concern but watches too closely. You survive, but barely. And you learn the lesson every woman in the palace must learn eventually. There is no such thing as kindness in the harem, not without a price. Because in the house of the king, beauty is not a gift, it is a threat. Favour is dangerous. Jealousy is everywhere. The moment your name is spoken by the pharaoh, even once, someone else begins planning your destruction. You just don't know who yet. The walls of the harem do not bleed openly. There are no duels, no daggers drawn in daylight. This is a war of whispers, of glances, of dropped jugs and accidental burns. It is a war fought with scented oils that blister your skin, with herbal teas that still the womb, with bribes passed quietly to a guard whose eyes never leave your breasts. And once you've been favoured, you are marked. Some women age out of it, others fade away. But if you're too beautiful, too young, too close to the king's gaze, you become a target. The poison is not always in the food. Sometimes it's in the rumour. She was seen speaking to a guard. She touched the pharaoh first. She doesn't bleed anymore. Words like smoke, thin, curling, impossible to stop once they start. The great royal wife has spies. So do the lesser wives. And so do the older concubines who have survived a decade by staying 3 steps ahead. And you are new, you are vulnerable, you are alone. One night, you wake to find your Coles box missing. The next, a smear of ash on your robe. The third, your hairbrush split in half. These are not accidents. They are warnings. Someone wants you afraid. Someone wants you to break before they have to do it themselves. You remember what happened to Akit, the dancer with the long lashes and quick laugh. She sang too sweetly at a banquet. The pharaoh smiled. That was her only crime. She was gone within a week. The whispers said poison. The official word was illness. No one dared ask which. The harem wept for a day, then went silent again. Because survival means forgetting quickly. But not everyone forgets, not the records. Because once, just once, the jealousy broke through the silence, and the kingdom trembled. The harem conspiracy of Ramses III. A real plot documented in papyrus, buried in official scrolls and court transcripts. A concubine named Tiye, once favoured, was cast aside. Enraged, she recruited magicians, assassins and servants. They smuggled poison into the palace. They planned to murder the pharaoh and crown her son in his place. She almost succeeded. The conspiracy was uncovered. Dozens were executed. Others were mutilated, forced to take their own lives. Even judges were punished for hesitating. The trial was sealed in shame. But the lesson survived. Even the god king could be touched by harem jealousy. Even the divine were not immune to a woman scorned. You think of this when you find rosewater in your cup where none was asked for. When a girl you don't know offers to comb your hair. When a eunuch tells you the king is asking for you. Again. Because affection is not safety, it's exposure. The women who smile at you are not friends. They are players. The game is old. The rules are cruel. And there is only ever one winner. You begin sleeping lightly, eating slowly. You watch the servant's hands too closely. You speak less, bow more, and smile only when needed. And still, it might not be enough. Because in the harem, death does not always wear a blade. Sometimes it tastes like honey. Sometimes it comes in a kiss. Sometimes it is wrapped in linen and called love. And the woman who gives it to you will not feel guilty, only relief. Because in the palace of women, jealousy is not a sin, it is survival. The first time you saw him, you trembled. Not because he was cruel, not because he was kind, but because everyone else did. Even the priest bowed until their foreheads touched stone. Even the generals knelt, eyes lowered like children before a father. Even the air seemed to stop moving when he entered, thick, reverent, suffocating. He was not called man. He was called Nesubiti. He was the living Horus, the god who ruled in flesh. And now that God sleeps in your bed, you're told that his body is sacred. His limbs carry the will of the sun god Ra. His breath is divine, his seed holy. To touch him is to serve heaven. To displease him is to offend the universe. So you learn how to worship. They teach you the rituals, not just how to walk or bathe or kneel, but how to anoint his skin with oil as if preparing a statue for the temple, how to breathe in rhythm with him, how to keep your gaze down while baring your body. And when he reaches for you, it is not called desire, It is called ceremony. But no ceremony prepares you for his weight, for the silence, for the way he does not ask. He simply takes. There is no cruelty in it, no rage, just the practiced efficiency of someone who has done this 1,000 times. You moan once. He tells you to be still, because this is not about you. This is not intimacy. This is duty. You are the offering. He is the altar. When it is over, you are bathed again, not by servants, but by priestesses who purify you with palm fronds and chant protective verses. They burn incense in the corners of the room to chase away bad spirits. They press sacred amulets into your palms to guard your womb. You are told that the god may have entered you, that life may now grow inside, a pharaoh in miniature, a divine spark waiting to become flame. You do not feel holy, you feel sore, empty, used, but you dare not speak that aloud, because your body no longer belongs to you. It is property. It is policy. It is a sacred chamber reserved for a god. Even when he is not there, his shadow is. You're not allowed to touch yourself, not allowed to bleed without announcing it. You are monitored during sleep. Your dreams are recorded by priestesses who believe the gods speak through your rest. If you dream of water, it is good. If you dream of fire, it is punishment. If you dream of running, never speak it aloud. They will call it heresy. Because if the god touches you and you feel fear, that means the god has failed. And the god cannot fail. So the failure must be you. You begin to pray more, not to him, not to Ra, but to the old gods, hidden ones, goddesses from village shrines who were buried long ago beneath the pyramids. You whisper their names beneath your breath: Hathor, Sekhmet, Taweret. You hide small offerings under your mat, crumbs, dried flowers, a drop of blood, anything to remind yourself that you're still human, that you were once a girl by the river. You see the others doing the same, not openly, but in glances, in songs hummed too softly, in hands trembling over bowls of water. Because sacredness, you've learned, is another kind of prison, and the living God, he is still a man, sometimes cruel, sometimes bored, sometimes tender in strange moments, when the mask slips and his voice softens, but always unreachable, always above, always beyond correction. He is allowed to touch, to command, to forget. But you must remember, always, the scent of his body, the rhythm of his breath, the way his hand moves when he is displeased. Because one mistake, one wrong movement, could be interpreted as sacrilege, and there is no forgiveness for insulting a god. You lie awake most nights now, wrapped in linen soaked with perfume you can no longer smell. Your skin still bears the prints of his rings. Your thighs ache. Your stomach turns when the eunuch says your name, because the divine has entered your life, and it has left you hollow. There are rooms in the palace no one speaks of, not the perfume chambers, not the banquet halls, not the garden pavilions where the pharaoh takes his wine. These other rooms are hidden behind blind walls and locked wooden doors, always cold, always silent, always empty until someone disappears. They are not written about, but every woman in the harem knows they exist, and what they mean. It doesn't take much to be sent there. A misstep during the pharaoh's procession, a rumour of forbidden touch, a pregnancy that came too soon, or didn't come at all. There is no trial, no warning. One night you sleep under warm linen beside soft murmurs, and the next a eunuch taps your shoulder in the dark and says only, "Come." The others pretend not to hear. They keep their eyes closed, because asking why could make you the next one taken. The girl is led through narrow corridors, always barefoot, no jewellery, no protection. She walks past halls where laughter once echoed, past columns where incense once curled, then down, stone steps, iron hinges, silence, and then The stone room. It's not a cell, not at first glance. There is no chain, no visible blood, just 4 walls, no windows, and a single lamp flickering in the corner, a bowl of water, a clay pot for waste, a mat thinner than the skin on your palms. The punishment is not pain, it's forgetting. No one speaks to you. No one feeds you anything warm. You lose track of time. You begin to count the cracks in the wall, the beads of sweat on your chest, the number of times you cry without sound. And outside, no one speaks your name again. This is what happens to girls who become inconvenient. Girls who bleed at the wrong time. Girls who are caught whispering to guards or accused of slipping herbs into their tea. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. Truth doesn't matter. The harem runs on order, not justice. And when the stone room isn't enough, there are other punishments. You've seen them. The concubine whose mouth was sewn with a single thread for gossiping about the great wife. The girl made to walk the perimeter of the courtyard for 3 days without food or water because she resisted a eunuch's command. The woman whose pregnancy was washed out after the pharaoh's scribes ruled the timing suspicious. There are secrets in this place that scream behind closed lips. Forbidden pregnancies, some between women and guards, young men stationed too close, too often, for too long. The price for such a betrayal is death, but sometimes the women try to hide it. They bind their bellies, fake illness, pray for miscarriages, others seek abortion. Old women in the shadows pass whispers of herbs strong enough to empty the womb. Rude juniper, crushed acacia, doses so fine that 1 pinch saves you and 2 kill you. The girl in the next room tried it once. She survived, barely. Her womb did not. Now she sweeps the halls with her eyes down, never summoned again, never touched. Because an empty womb is worse than a disobedient mouth. In the palace of women, your value is simple, you're useful, or you're removed. So you learn to hide your thoughts. You smile when you're afraid. You bow when you want to run. You say nothing when you know the truth. You help a girl braid her hair, even as you wonder whether she poisoned your drink the night before. You survive by erasing yourself. But sometimes, just sometimes, you hear a sound in the night. The echo of footsteps where no one walks. The thud of a door closing too softly. And you remember the girl who used to sleep across from you. The one who smiled with crooked teeth. The one who vanished last week. You ask no questions, because the stone room doesn't forget. It only waits. There are rooms in the palace no one speaks of. Not the perfume chambers, not the banquet halls, not the garden pavilions where the pharaoh takes his wine. These other rooms are hidden behind blind walls and locked wooden doors, always cold, always silent, always empty until someone disappears. They are not written about. But every woman in the harem knows they exist, and what they mean. It doesn't take much to be sent there. A misstep during the pharaoh's procession, a rumour of forbidden touch, a pregnancy that came too soon, or didn't come at all. There is no trial, no warning. One night you sleep under warm linen beside soft murmurs, and the next a eunuch taps your shoulder in the dark and says only, "Come." The others pretend not to hear. They keep their eyes closed, because asking why could make you the next one taken. The girl is led through narrow corridors, always barefoot, no jewellery, no protection. She walks past halls where laughter once echoed, past columns where incense once curled, then down, stone steps, iron hinges, silence, and then the stone room. It's not a cell, not at first glance. There is no chain, no visible blood, just 4 walls, no windows, and a single lamp flickering in the corner, a bowl of water, a clay pot for waste, a mat thinner than the skin on your palms. The punishment is not pain, it's forgetting. No one speaks to you. No one feeds you anything warm. You lose track of time. You begin to count the cracks in the wall, the beads of sweat on your chest, the number of times you cry without sound. And outside, no one speaks your name again. This is what happens to girls who become inconvenient. Girls who bleed at the wrong time. Girls who are caught whispering to guards or accused of slipping herbs into their tea. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. Truth doesn't matter. The harem runs on order, not justice. And when the stone room isn't enough, there are other punishments. You've seen them. The concubine whose mouth was sewn with a single thread for gossiping about the great wife. The girl made to walk the perimeter of the courtyard for 3 days without food or water because she resisted a eunuch's command. The woman whose pregnancy was washed out after the pharaoh's scribes ruled the timing suspicious. There are secrets in this place that scream behind closed lips. Forbidden pregnancies, some between women and guards, young men stationed too close, too often, for too long. The price for such a betrayal is death. But sometimes the women try to hide it. They bind their bellies, fake illness, pray for miscarriages. Others seek abortion. Old women in the shadows pass whispers of herbs strong enough to empty the womb. Rue juniper, crushed acacia. Doses so fine that 1 pinch saves you, and 2 kill you. The girl in the next room tried it once. She survived. Barely. Her womb did not. Now she sweeps the halls with her eyes down, never summoned again, never touched. Because an empty womb is worse than a disobedient mouth. In the palace of women, your value is simple. You're useful or you are removed. So you learn to hide your thoughts. You smile when you're afraid. You bow when you want to run. You say nothing when you know the truth. You help a girl braid her hair, even as you wonder whether she poisoned your drink the night before. You survive by erasing yourself. But sometimes, just sometimes, you hear a sound in the night. The echo of footsteps where no one walks. The thud of a door closing too softly. And you remember the girl who used to sleep across from you. The one who smiled with crooked teeth. The one who vanished last week. You ask no questions, because the stone room doesn't forget. It only waits.